Hey guys, my name is Iasmina and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another video for you writers out there, and that'll be about the best resources for writers. Now my idea with these videos is to offer some ideas to you guys of things that I've tried and tested and things that have really helped me. And you might already know about some of these things. If so, great. But I'm hoping some of you haven't heard of these things or all of these things, and you might find something really good that really helps you. So that's my hope. In my last video where I talked about best tools for writers, I mostly mentioned sort of online software, apps, things like that, a few other kinds of resources. But today I want to focus more on general resources for writers, things that might help you learn more about writing that's not writing craft books, pretty much. So more like online media and things. So yeah, let's just jump straight into the video. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually the thing that you're watching right now. Yes, me, but also YouTube, and thus AuthorTube. I'm a writer and I also make videos about books, so my channel is kind of both an AuthorTube channel and a BookTube channel, just everything books. But there are hundreds of amazing channels of authors right here on YouTube. There are so many aspiring authors that share their journey and share tips and tricks, but also already established, published authors who do the same. I've learned so much from some of these people, and I have been following them for a very, very long time, way before I obviously started making my own author videos. But this community on YouTube is honestly so incredibly helpful and educational, obviously, for writers. And so I will definitely leave links to some of my favorite AuthorTube channels here on YouTube down in the description below. But obviously, do some of your own research and try to find some channels that you really like and that really help you. But I will definitely put some of my suggestions down in the description. The second resource I want to talk about is actually also on YouTube, but it's actually a lecture filmed and then uploaded on YouTube. This is something I've watched and followed religiously for years now. So what I'm talking about is Brandon Sanderson, the famous fantasy writer's lectures that he does at BYU, I think, at a university in America. He's a teacher there, and so he does these lectures about SFF writing. He talks about publishing, he talks about how to write books. These lectures are so incredibly helpful, but for about, what is it, like 3, 4, maybe 5 years, one of his students filmed his lectures and with his permission uploaded them to YouTube, and they became super, super popular. So there is a few years of the same kind of lecture, but he kind of talks about, he talks about similar things each year, but he always brings something new. So I've watched every single one of them multiple times, and they have honestly helped so much. Obviously, Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorite writers, so I'm also in tune with his writing style and I agree with a lot of the things he says, but that might not be the case for you. If you don't like his writing, it might not work for you. But even if you don't like Brandon Sanderson, I think his advice is generally applicable and really, really valuable. So I would really recommend watching some of these lectures and just seeing if it's something for you. And also, you don't have to write a science fiction or fantasy to follow these lectures. They are applicable to any genre writing for novels specifically. But obviously they're more helpful if you're writing science fiction or fantasy. Third thing I want to recommend to you guys also is about Brandon Sanderson. The thing I want to mention is podcasts. There are quite a lot of podcasts out there focused on writing and full of advice for writers, featuring authors or just writers talking about writing. But one that I will specifically recommend to you is the one that Brandon Sanderson with Dan Wells and Mary Robinette Kowal is doing. It's called Writing Excuses, and it's been going for years now. And yeah, it comes out every week, and it's full of really, really helpful advice and examples and even exercises. So you can follow along with what they're doing and just try to learn something new about writing. So that's the one I specifically recommend, but there are others. One I know is called, I think, Grammar Girl or something like that, and it basically talks a lot about grammar rules. And there's also one, I Should Be Writing. Haven't had a lot of experience with those, I haven't listened to them a lot, but they are there and you might like them, so I'll link them in the description below as well. But you know, just in general, look at podcasts. It's so easy to listen to them while on your way to work or before you go to bed, or while you're cooking, like while you're doing something else and you don't actually have time to read or do anything like that. You can definitely listen to a podcast and learn something new. The next thing I want to talk about is 2 websites from 2 authors who put up a lot of really helpful content. So the first one, the one that I've used the most, is Susan Dennard's blog. Susan Dennard wrote Truth Witch and its sequel Wind Witch, and I think the third one is called Blood Witch, and it's coming out sometime this year maybe, or next year. But she's obviously written some other series as well, but this is the one I have personally read and really liked. But she has a fantastic blog on her website where she chronicles her publishing journey and also gives a lot of really helpful advice and exercises for writers. She has personally helped me so much with some of those posts. One in particular I remember is actually not hers personally, like it's not her personal idea, but she went into more depth on how to use it and has helped me so much. It's actually from this book that I've talked about on my channel called 2,000 to 10,000 Words, How to Write Faster, Better by Rachel Aaron. I'll put a picture right here. I would definitely recommend reading that. But Rachel Aaron in this book talks about finding a cookie for each scene that you're writing. So finding something that excites you about that scene. And if you can't find a cookie for the scene, then don't write the scene, because you're not gonna like writing it. You're not gonna have any fun writing it. And what's the point if you're not having fun writing these scenes? But Susan Dennard took that idea as well, and she wrote a blog post about it, and she wrote on how she used it personally with examples from her own work, from her own drafts, and I just think it was super helpful. But she has tons and tons of stuff like that. So highly recommend checking Susan Dennard's blog website out. The next website I want to talk about in a similar vein, it's called The Creative Pen, and it's the website of Joanna Penn, and she's an author, but she is also an authortuber here on YouTube. So I'll put also her channel down below. She also makes really helpful videos, but her website is filled with helpful stuff. She actually focuses a lot on sort of self-publishing and publishing in general, and she gives advice on how she did it, because she is a self-published author, but she is a very successful self-published author, and so she writes a lot about that. And so I think it will be super helpful for some of you guys who want to look into self-publishing. Next thing I want to talk about is not necessarily like a, I don't know how to explain, it's not like a resource where you can go and read and learn things, but it's more a service. I'll call it that. It's a service. What I'm talking about is something like Pitch Wars and also Author-Mentor Match. So if you're not aware, Pitch Wars, and also in combination with that PitMad, is this kind of contest competition where aspiring writers submit their works, their novels, and then established authors look through their submissions, and then they each pick one author / one manuscript to mentor. So if you're picked by one of these mentors, then they will work with you for free. This is all free. They will work for you, and they will help you make that manuscript ready for submission. And the thing about Pitch Wars is that at the end of each Pitch Wars, that happens once a year, around July, August, at the end of each Pitch Wars, there is an agent round. And so real agents will then look, there will be like a page on the Pitch Wars website with all of the winning manuscripts and all the ones that are now polished with the help of these authors. There will be a list of them, and so the agents can look through all of these submissions and maybe find a new client. I know personally one of my beta readers has found an agent through that service, and a lot of people find agents through that service every single year. I've submitted once to the Pitch Wars, but I haven't been picked, sadly. But the other thing in connection to this that I want to talk about is PitMad. So PitMad is a Twitter contest where agents scour Twitter for manuscript pitches. So I think this happens maybe 3 or 4 times a year. During a certain time span, it's usually like a day, authors can pitch their manuscript ideas on Twitter, and then agents look and request that you submit to them directly. So it still follows the same sort of querying process. You're still querying that agent, but because the agent requested to see your manuscript based on that Twitter pitch, it gives you a higher chance. Like, I've had really, really good success. I've participated, I think, three times in PitMad, and I've had a lot of agents request my tiny little manuscript. And the thing I've noticed is they give so much more importance to your submission because it was requested through PitMad, and so they respond quicker, and they also give a lot of feedback. Like, I've been given a lot of feedback from some really, really high, like really big agents because they requested it through PitMad. So highly recommend looking into that. But your manuscript has to be query ready, so you can't just pitch a random idea and see if it sticks, because these agents will request that you submit to them, and in order to submit you have to have a finished, polished manuscript that is query ready. So that's Pitch Wars and PitMad. They are kind of a thing together. But similar to Pitch Wars, there is Author Mentor Match. And it's basically the same thing as Pitch Wars. The only difference, unfortunately, is that this one does not include an agent round. So you it's an amazing thing, but you do only get an author mentor to help you polish your manuscript. So there's no agent round at the end where agents can look at those finished manuscripts. But then you can just take whatever you have then and continue submitting to agents through the normal routes, which is how most people get agents anyway. So the next category I want to talk about is actually, well, I don't know what to call it. It's basically Wattpad and fanfiction.net. I think these two websites are super, super duper useful, especially for beginner writers. Fanfiction.net, even if it's called fanfiction, and it did start by people submitting, obviously, fanfiction of established media. Stuff like Harry Potter is pretty huge in the fanfiction world, but it is also for unique works as well. So you can publish your own works, and people read it and people give you feedback. And I'm not sure about fanfiction.net, or I think both of them you can either put up like a chapter at a time, or I think you can put up the whole manuscript if you want to. But yeah, it's basically a way to get your work out there and to get your work read, especially if you're a beginner writer. I think it's super helpful to get some kind of immediate feedback. It's not guaranteed that people will read your work, obviously, but the thing is, it's absolutely free, so you don't make any money off of this. And word of advice, I'm pretty sure if you submit something to Wattpad or fanfiction.net or any of these kinds of websites, something that you're planning on either self-publishing or traditional publishing later, at least for traditional publishing, I'm pretty sure you can't, unless it will be heavily revised, because I'm pretty sure this counts as it being published. And with traditional publishing, agents and publishers won't take you on if something has already been published, with exceptions. Obviously, there have been self-published authors who have been picked up by traditional publishers and have published their same book that was available on Amazon. They've later published it again, but those are exceptions. If your book is really, really good and it garnered like millions of readers and people really love it on one of these websites, then your chance of it being picked up by an actual publisher is higher. But in general, be careful, because you might not be able to publish that work again somewhere else, because it does kind of count it as being published. Okay, and the very last thing I just want to quickly mention again, because this still stands, I know I've mentioned this in all of my writing advice videos, but writing craft books, I've made a video all about my favorite writing craft books. I'll link it in the card here and down in the description, just in case you're interested. Writing books. Books on writing. Yes. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to mention in this video. I always forget stuff, and then I make the video and I remember something else that would have worked really well in it, and then I'm like, oh, that's how some of these things actually made it in this video and not the other video. But never mind, this is a work in progress. I'm always gonna find new things, and I'm always gonna want to recommend new things to you guys. So it works. But one video is not the be-all end-all of things. There are always other things that I find out about, and some that you guys have told me about as well. So yeah, thanks for that. I hope this was helpful, at least a little bit. I hope you found something interesting to look at, something interesting to watch. Maybe a new channel to follow. I have been nursing this coffee for, I think about an hour now, and somehow it's still warm, so good job, mug. Yeah, I don't know what else to say now. The video is over, why am I still here? Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful to you, and otherwise I will see you next Monday with a new video. See ya!